Hello, everyone. On behalf of Chancellor Jose Savarelli and Director of Athletics Jimmy Bass, we welcome you to the 2021 National Girls and Women in Sports Day Leadership Summit. My name is Tiffany Tucker, Senior Associate Athletics Director and Senior Woman Administrator here at UNCW. Today marks the 35th annual commemoration of this day. Each year, today is celebrated to inspire girls and women in sport to play, to be active, and to realize their full power. This year, with the COVID-19 pandemic and the rise of social and racial injustice, we recognize the importance of staying mentally and physically healthy during these challenging times. So whether you're in your office or at home on your comfort couch, or riding your Peloton, we beg of you to take the next hour to recharge, renew, and restore your mind, your heart, and your spirit in the name of girls and women in sport. Without further ado, let's get this party started. First up, our panel of industry influencers. Put on your seatbelt for this one. We have 4 women who could easily stand alone on their own. And we have decided to put together a 4-piece panel that will surely blow you away. So sit back and relax as my awesome student athletes introduce you to these 4 incredible women. Take it away, Seahawks.
Good afternoon. My name is Annabelle Shaw, and I'm a freshman on the volleyball team. Did you know that of more than 700 players in the National Hockey League, only 43 are players of color? That's only 5% of the entire league. Tammy Tranter is entering the 23rd year of her career, which has encompassed business and athletics. She went from starting her career in finance in 1997 to the present, where she has been overseeing the USA Hockey Foundation for almost 4 years. In between this span of 23 years, she has been both a head and assistant coach in college volleyball and an assistant basketball coach. She has also previously served as a director of volleyball operations, an associate athletics director, chief of staff for athletics, and now her current role as chief of development at USA Hockey. Tammy attained her undergraduate degree in business administration from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan, and obtained her master's degree in kinesiology from Michigan State. With loads of experience from various coaching stops and the Big Ten Conference on her resume, she accepted the Chief of Staff for Athletics role at Wayne State. Armed with the goal to become the best in fundraising and take that experience to Division I Director of Athletics role in the future, she moved to Colorado to lead the University Major Gifts and Athletics fundraising arm for Colorado School of Mines. From there, she was recruited to USA Volleyball and is coming up on her 4-year anniversary at USA Hockey. She has raised over $30 million.
Good afternoon. My name is Evan Arsenal, and I'm a senior on the swimming and diving team. In America, 40% of sports people are women. However, only 6 to 8% of total sports media coverage is devoted to them. And women-only sports stories add up to just 3.5% of all sports stories in the 4 major U.S. newspapers. Molly Sullivan is a veteran sports broadcaster who joined KLAS-TV as a reporter prior to the Raiders' inaugural season in Las Vegas. Now, in her 14th year covering sports, Molly has worked as a sideline reporter for national game broadcasts on NFL Network, along with CBS Sports Network, NBA TV, TNT, ESPN, and regionally for NBC Sports. A graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Molly is an ACC champion and 4-time NCAA qualifier in the mile for the Tar Heels. She also competed in the 2000 U.S. Olympic trials. From covering a 10-win NBA season to reporting on the longest win streak to end the regular season in NBA history, Molly Sullivan made her mark in Philadelphia, with the highlight being her transition to the NFL. Prior to the 2019 college football season, Molly joined the NFL Network as a sideline reporter for Conference USA games. For 7 seasons, Molly was the sideline reporter for the 76ers on the NBC Sports Philadelphia. She was also a reporter and host for the Philadelphia Eagles for 2 seasons, hosted a daily news show, and conducted exclusive sit-down interviews with players for game day programming. Molly cut her teeth on the sideline in Las Vegas with the Mountain West Sports Network, which was a member of the Comcast NBC Sports Regional Networks. During her 3.5 years with the Mountain West Sports Network, she worked primarily as a college football sideline reporter and was also the lone sideline reporter for men's and women's basketball. Molly was also a ringside reporter for Top Ranking Boxing, co-hosted ESPN Road Trip from Las Vegas, and served as lead swimming analyst for Big Ten Network. In a city where sports and entertainment are uniquely intertwined, Molly landed her first on-air job in her hometown of Las Vegas as an entertainment reporter and producer for a syndicated weekly segment that aired on newscasts across the country. Molly went on to host and produce her own weekly half-hour community lifestyle television show while co-authoring and publishing a book about Las Vegas. Molly was then picked up as a field producer and national television networks as an entertainment reporter for national publications before hosting and producing her own daily half-hour local show.
Good afternoon. My name is Micah Hogan, and I'm a redshirt junior on the basketball team. Did you know that women only make up 24% of Director of Athletics in the NCAA? Jennifer Lynn Williams is the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics at Alabama State University. Previously, she served as the Interim Athletic Director and Deputy Athletic Director for the Hornets. At Alabama State, Jennifer serves on the President's Executive Leadership Team and manages the day-to-day operations of Hornet Athletics. Jennifer has direct oversight of the Hornet Club, the official fundraising arm of Alabama State Athletics, and serves as the sport administrator for football, men's basketball, and baseball. A 4-year letterman and 2-year captain in women's basketball at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Jennifer earned her bachelor's degree as a double major in journalism and African American history, and a master's degree in athletic administration from North Carolina Central University, where she graduated magna cum laude. Jennifer brings more than a decade of experience in athletic administration to Alabama State and has experienced a tremendous amount of success in her first 4 years in Montgomery. Under her guidance, Alabama State captured its 6th consecutive Southwestern Athletic Conference Commissioners Cup by winning 10 conference championships. Jennifer came to Alabama State after spending 4 years as the Associate Athletic Director for Development and Executive Director for the Aggie Athletic Foundation at North Carolina A&T State University, DePaul University as the Assistant Director of Development for Athletics, Women Leaders in College Sports, and volunteered with the Seahawk Club here at UNCW. She serves the NCAA Division I Council, where she serves on the Football Oversight Committee as a part of her council duties, and is in her 4th year as an executive committee member of the National Association of Athletic Development Directors. Jennifer is member of Women's Leader in College Sports Board of Directors, the NCAA Board of Governors Committee to promote cultural diversity and equity, the Black AD Alliance, and was recently appointed to the Black Coaches United Boards of Directors. Williams currently resides in Montgomery, Alabama with her husband, Valdez, daughter Harper Lynn, and son Jackson.
Good afternoon, my name is Micaiah Spencer and I am a senior on the track and field team. Did you know 40% of women in the workplace felt that their gender could have a negative impact on how others value them, while 30% have experienced inappropriate behavior by someone of the opposite sex? Dawn Ellerby has over 25 years of experience in collegiate athletics as a student athlete, coach, and administrator, and currently serves as the Associate Athletics Director for Marketing, Branding, and Fan Development at California State University, Northridge. She oversees marketing, game day operations, and community engagements for the Matadors, and is the sports administrator for men and women's track and field, cross country, and women's water polo. Dawn was a student athlete at the University of South Carolina, where she was a pioneer in the sport of women's hammer throw, winning 4 NCAA titles, 5 SEC titles, and was twice named SEC Track and Field Athlete of the Year. She is a member of South Carolina Athletics Hall of Fame and was the first woman to win an individual national title at the University of South Carolina. Dawn earned her master's degree at the University of Wyoming while continuing her track and field career as an assistant coach and athlete, earning a spot on the 2000 U.S. Olympic team, becoming the first woman to compete in the women's hammer throw for the United States, and placed 7th at the 2000 Olympic Games. Dawn has won 12 USA track and field titles in women's hammer throw, the indoor weight, and held the American record for the women's hammer throw from 1996 to 2002.
Thanks so much to Micaiah, Annabelle, Micah, and Evan for those star-studded introductions. You guys did an amazing job. Dawn, Tammy, Jennifer, Molly, thanks so much for your sacrifice and your time. I know that you could be anywhere else, but we are so happy that you're here with us. And I know we can talk all day, but I want to get started and really jump into this conversation. You all are amazing women in your respective fields. You're amazing friends to me. And I'll just say thank you again for leaning into this opportunity. I think it's so important for our student athletes to have women who look like them, women who sit in the seat that they aspire to sit in, to have a very transparent conversation about what it takes to be that woman. You know, our theme for this year is unapologetically a woman. There is nothing that I would rather be at this day and time.
Yeah, Tiff.
you know, Jennifer, I see you and Dawn with those pearls on, and I think back to a couple of weeks ago when we installed our first Madam Vice President, and you know, that is you know, beyond the things that I can think of. But I know this is a cliche question, but I think it's important for us to ask. As former athletes and women who work in athletics and in the sports space, what piece of advice would you give your younger self? Anyone can jump out there and take it.
Tiff, I'll go ahead and start. So I would say that it's okay to not have everything figured out. I think as student athletes, we always have this persona that we have to be strong, that we have to be that strong friend, that strong teammate, family member, etc. But you don't always have to carry everyone's burdens. You know, it's okay if you're not feeling your best. You don't have to put on a facade all the time. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to be vulnerable. And I just, again, as student athletes, we're always known to be strong and to be just confident individuals. And sometimes we have to be okay with letting our guard down and showing that we can be vulnerable and that we aren't always perfect.
Awesome.
I would agree with Jennifer. I think along with that, piggybacking on that, I think when you start out in your career, you should kind of approach it just like you do when you're being recruited. You're going to go where the best coach is, the best school, the best fit for you. And I think as you work into your first few jobs in athletics, it's very important to align yourself with places that fit you. Like if it's a school you want to work at that's really progressive, they're super innovative, they're doing all these new things, and you're a creative person, that's a great fit for you, as opposed to a school that's more steeped in tradition that you might feel a little stifled when you want to kind of get out there and create and do new things. So I think it's really important to approach that the best space for you, just as you approach like the best coaches and the best schools for you when you're coming out of your freshman year as a student athlete.
Awesome. Tammy, Molly, any thoughts?
Hi, Tam.
Yeah, I would I would piggyback on both of those ideals that, you know, with Jennifer and Dawn. And I would say, you know, as an athlete, we are, you know, all of us are, we're so competitive, and, you know, you're always working hard, and you're always thinking about, you know, what's my strength, what's my weakness, and how can I always get better? But, you know, you don't always have to focus on building your weaknesses. You can trust in your strengths, and, you know, there's a reason that you're good at them. So go ahead and play on those, you know, trust in your abilities.
Yeah, that's huge. Trust in your strengths.
And Tiff, the typical reporter here, I got to give a little behind the scenes scoop, because before Tiffany, we started rolling, right? With the red light comes on. Before the red light came on, all of us have athletic backgrounds here. We all are athletes, right? We all had a little something to get us like into our game face. And that's what I was watching. And that is what is beautiful, because every one of you, and I'm not just talking about us right here, but everybody that is listening, and we're all in the same huddle here, we all are beautiful, and we all can excel in whatever it is that we love. You know, you don't have to apologize about that. I think the one thing I would tell my younger self is don't worry about climbing to the top. Like, you're going to get there, because once you get there, then what? Because that's the next question. It's so important to surround yourself with good people, okay? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter the mic flag that I'm holding, or the league that I'm covering, or the game. None of that matters, right, Tiff? Like, yeah. you guys, everybody knows this. And women, we are smart, and we should help those men out a little bit too, because it's not about our gender. It's about the work that we put in. And so I think the number one thing I would tell my younger self is don't be so concerned about climbing to the top, because once you get there, the question you're going to ask yourself is, now what? And it matters the people that you surround yourself with. So that's why I'm happy to be here with all of you, and all of which had a little something, whether it was fixing our hair or clearing our throat or drinking our coffee. You get into the game mode. And I think that's what life is. Life is about understanding your priority and understanding the importance of doing what is right. And I think that's why we're all here today, right? It's not just about one day about celebrating girls and women in sport. It should be year round, every minute of every day. And that's the beauty of what we do.
Yeah, that's so true. And Molly, you talked about getting in game mode, and that kind of leads me to my next question about what are some actionable things that student athletes can do to prepare for that transition to life after college? I know if you're anything like me, I enjoyed my 4 years at North Carolina as a student athlete, you know, having an opportunity to meet my best friend, having an opportunity to build some lifelong relationships, whether they were professors, whether they were just, you know, students on campus, having an opportunity to live in a beautiful place such as Chapel Hill. What do you think about that when the lights go off, when the ball stops bouncing, you know, when you stop making those laps, when, you know, Dawn, you threw the hammer, when that hammer throws for the last time, you know, what are some things that help our student athletes get ready for that transition?
I'll let the swimmer talk about this one here, because this one hits deep, because I wasn't ready, guys. I was not ready. I had my horse blinders on. I don't know if I thought I was going to swim professionally. I don't know what I thought. I was enjoying my time so much in Chapel Hill, learning and growing and the relationships that I had no plan. So I went back to my hometown of Las Vegas. And ultimately, I mean, if you go back into our media guides, right, back in the day when they used to be hard copy media guides, you guys are so lucky, electronic versions now. But back in the day, you go and you Google it, and it says that I want to be a sports reporter or an actress. Okay, the dichotomy of that. There is nothing, it makes me cringe, because you don't get into reporting. It's not about you. It's about telling the person's story, right? So I had no plan. I went back to my hometown of Las Vegas. I fell into entertainment reporting because Las Vegas was not the sports city that it is today, thankfully. I was chasing Britney Spears and Paris Hilton around town, questioning life, thinking I have a degree from the University of North Carolina. I am an athlete. What am I doing? And ultimately, I got back to the NBA sidelines, and then ultimately now with the NFL. And so I think work your plan and plan your work. Do it now. It is never too early. I think that what I tell young sports broadcasters coming up is that it's never too early. And do not take no for an answer, because I did not have a plan. And it took me many, many years to find my way, which is okay. But if you just continue to network, do these things, learn about yourself, read, write, continue to grow, and be prepared to fail.
Awesome.
A similar experience.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, and I think, Molly, you're right on that. You know, volunteer, read, learn about new things, and some of the actionable things I would say is, learning isn't always about learning about what the marketing department's doing, or sales, or accounting. It's like I would say, go out there and learn about things that are going to help you communicate and be stronger with other individuals that you're going to be working with. So learn about emotional intelligence, because it plays a big part in your life and other people's, and those things impact you every day. So the capacity to be aware of, in control of things, and how to express your emotions, and deal with those interpersonal relationships. I think that empathetic thinking and feeling and doing is really a big part, and that's something you can take control of right away.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say real quick to add, I enjoyed my time in Chapel Hill so much, I stayed an extra year. So, I was on the 5-year plan. It was a great place. And I did feel as if I had a plan. And, I utilized the resources at Chapel Hill, whether volunteering within the department. I was a journalism major, so did a lot with, the Tar Heel Sports Network. And then I came out and I was lucky to secure an apprenticeship with Fox Sports in Atlanta. But I knew that I was flexible enough that my plans changed. And while I had this idea that I was going to be a sports reporter, I was going to be the next Oprah Winfrey, I was open to other opportunities. And when I moved to Atlanta, I saw that there were other things out there. I was not fulfilled working at Fox Sports, and I was okay with walking away. I think as student athletes, we have to sometimes put out the naysayers, because everyone was like, Jennifer, you're so good at color commentary. You're a great analyst, all these great things, but I wasn't happy. And so at the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy. And I was okay with walking away, coming back to North Carolina Central, getting a master's in sports administration. And that pretty much catapulted my career. So be okay with walking away and walking away from a plan you had in mind. We go in with these preconceived notions of how we think our life is going to be, but things change. And COVID right now has taught us anything, that everything is very fluid. And so you have to be able to flex and pivot and not listen to what other people say, but do what makes you happy. But at the same time, I'm really big on utilizing the resources where you are. So, whether interning or with Tiffany, I'm gonna say Miss Tucker, because I'm pretty sure that's what your student athletes call you, or utilizing the university. UNC Wilmington's a great community. I lived there for a year. Utilizing the resources there in the community to find internships if athletics is not what you want to do, but being resourceful. People are always going to need help and free help. So keep that in mind.
That's so true.
I think my experience is a combination of all four of us, right? I was fortunate enough to go to the University of South Carolina. I competed in the hammer throw. It was the first year they had the hammer in the NCAA for women, was in 1996. And then I got to compete post-collegiately and make an Olympic team. So my identity as an athlete lasted as an athlete, competitive athlete, traveling and training lasted till I was like 30 years old. So what do you do then? Like, what's the plan then when you kind of have the experience of an athlete? You have the world experience of traveling, learning new cultures, learning new languages, but you don't have that work experience. So you kind of have to go back, like you have your undergrad, you have your master's degree, and now you're applying for entry-level positions. And you take a huge hit to your identity and your self-esteem. All that takes a huge hit. So I agree with what Tammy said about you have to learn other things. I agree with what Molly said about having a plan. And I also really, more than anything, agree with Jennifer in that pivot. Because I just knew I was going to be a coach, and then I had my first experience coaching. It just wasn't for me, and I went into marketing and administration, and that's why I've been able to blossom and thrive. So I think it's taking your time too. If I can say anything that's most important, I would tell a student athlete once they're finished, take some time to work in that transition period, because you go from being a student athlete where your life is completely structured. There's always someone telling you to do, whether it's a treatment, whether it's your coach, whether it's the nutritionist, it's your professors. There's always someone telling you to do, and then boom, you're out in the real world and you have to figure out what to do on your own. And you've had someone telling you what to do since you were probably in the 6th or 7th grade in organized sports. So I say, take that time to transition, and it's okay not to have everything figured out.
That's so true, Dawn. I heard self-esteem and pivot and transition. As you all know, mental health is a hot topic in athletics. It's a hot topic globally right now. What are your thoughts around the issue? And, at one point, talking about mental health was a taboo thing. No one talked about going to therapy. No one talked about getting help. What are your thoughts around it? And two, what are some practical ways that our student athletes can help cope with anxiety and stress as student athletes and as working adults? Because we have some seniors, and we have some coaches, and we have some administrators who are going to be watching you all as well. And they want to know, what are some ways you guys are coping with stress, coping with anxiety? Jennifer and Molly, you guys are working moms. Like that's a huge thing to manage. Like talk to us a little bit about those things.
Wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But understanding the steps on how to manage it. And I know sometimes we put our game faces on and we just do it and we get it done. But there are some people who really need those steps in the managing and how you process.
Well, Tiff, I wanted to say, I'm at a historically Black college, and, in the Black community, it is very taboo to go to therapy, to have a therapist and counseling. And so what I try to do, even though I have a great percentage of student athletes who are not individuals of color, talk to them about it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about, especially during COVID-19 and then all the social injustices that were taking place. I'm in Montgomery, Alabama, the heart of the civil rights movement. A lot of our student athletes were really torn and hurt when everything happened this summer with all of the social injustices that kind of came out. And so we wanted to make sure they knew they had resources available to go and get counseling, and not just counseling on campus, because some of our student athletes didn't feel comfortable, but we made it available where they could go see a private counseling, and we worked it out to just let them know you have this available. And virtual, we looked at the virtual space because we were in a pandemic, and that made it a little more easier. But just talking to our student athletes and our coaches too, because this is a hard time for them as well. When you take something away that they're used to, coaches are used to having this control. And I think administrators, in a sense, we are too. And so when COVID pulls back your control and you are at its mercy, you have to flex, and you have to mentally stay optimistic and strong, but it's hard. And just letting people know you have resources available. Something I went to a Quaker school when I was in middle school, so 3 years, and we were big on meditation. That was something we did every morning. On Thursdays, we did it for 30 minutes. And that's something I still carry with me, is just taking that time to have, 20, it's harder now with 2 children and a newborn, but having, 10, 15 minutes where I can really just meditate and take the time to get my thoughts together and just to reflect on the day and see, and try to figure out how to move forward. And then talking to close friends, Tiff, you've been a great person that I can rely on. We've known each other since, I'm not going to date us, but we've known each other for a long time. And, having that circle of individuals, and Dawn, and Tammy, just having that group. And then exercise. That's something that I'm not a student athlete anymore, but I think that I go walk. I can't do much now, but I just, Molly has her sort of the soul cycle back there.
You're on to me.
Exercise is huge.
JT, you were running.
I'm going to be running soon once I'm cleared from this doctor's appointment. And then I want to say this, I like to shop. I know that's not always the best thing, but retail therapy helps me out. So I don't know, Dawn, I know I look at your wardrobe all the time. This is our model right here. And online retail therapy, it helps me out a lot. I'm not going to shy away from that. People have their different things. That's something that helps me relieve some of my anxiety and stress. But those are just some of the few things to cope, because we are going through a hard time right now with this pandemic and everything.
Jennifer, you called it. You said it's hard, right? Mental health, it isn't an issue. It's just part of life. And it's just like, keeping your diet, and keeping that as clean as possible, and keeping the people that you surround yourself. I'm big on that, obviously. But mental health is not an issue. And we don't have all the answers, right? But you know what we're doing? We're talking. And you can pick things out, and you can latch on to things and say, you know what, I'm not alone. Jennifer, you get it. Being a working mom, you understand that. There's always something you can grasp onto. So I think my main message to all of you listening is that you're not alone, is that we're all in this together, and it's not cliche, it's real, it's raw. And I think just understanding that mental health is not an issue, that it's something that it's so important to talk, that none of us are perfect. I slap myself on the wrist sometimes because I can be kind of a Stepford wife. You know what I'm saying? Like everything's fine and rosy and it's not, right? The world is crashing in on me, but you got a job to do. We're a student athlete. We've got that sports background, and you get it done and you find a way. So just know that it's okay not to be perfect. And I don't think, if you guys are hanging with us right now, you understand that you are bright and you have such an amazing future in front of you. And I know some of the coaches and the administrators are hanging with us. And listen, you wouldn't be spending your time doing this if you didn't understand the importance. So I think just knowing that mental health is not an issue, that it is something that we all need to talk about. The athletes, the professional athletes that I cover, they put on a front, and maybe perhaps they give the money soundbite, right? That you take home, that you tweet, whatever. Well, guess what? We're all human. And a lot of times, you know, I'm not reporting on what's going on behind closed doors because you're reporting on the entertainment aspect. And sometimes it's too real, right? But I think if anything in this past year, certainly it has taught us is that there's a lot going on outside of the lines, and that it is bigger than football. It is bigger than basketball. It is bigger than sport. But what sport does is bring us all together. So just understanding it's okay to talk. Don't be fearful of being judged. I am a perfectionist, if you haven't latched onto that yet. And I'm still scared about being judged, you know, and being vulnerable. But once you get past that and understand that we're all human, it's pretty empowering.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that, Molly. You talked about vulnerability. And we're working with a demographic of 18 to 23-year-olds
Yeah.
who are learning, you know, what happens when you go outside of these walls of UNCW, of Alabama State, of Cal Northridge. Like that vulnerability, you know, when you're out, when you're here, it's closed in. You have your coaches, you have, you know, the administration, you have your professors, you have your close friends, you have people around you. But when you're out among the world and you're a reporter, so, you know, your job is to kind of get close, tell the stories that are real. But talk about that vulnerability with being kind of out and having to figure it out and protect yourself.
Gosh, that's a loaded question. You're so good about this, Tiff. Tiff and I were part of University of North Carolina when we unveiled a Forever Tar Heel initiative, and Tiffany's story just struck me. You know, I would sit there somewhat like what we did before the red light went on and take copious notes of you know, Tiffany's background and the other women that I was surrounded by. But none of that matters, because once you start talking, you hear the true self. So Tiff, in terms of vulnerability, I think just understanding that once you do get out into the real world, of which you're already there because this is real, especially in this past year, is just knowing that we're all going together. Like, we're not just like cutting ties and that's it. You know, I did admit that I didn't do a good job at Carolina in preparing myself for the real world. That's why I'm here today. But just understanding that the resources, all of your relationships, they come along with you. So you've got to keep maintaining them and cultivating and building. And then, you know, that introduces you to the next person. And so, yeah, have I felt vulnerable numerous times in this business, in life? You bet. I mean, I think back to my first day as a sideline reporter in the NBA, and it was 76ers at Indiana. Growing up, it was Michael and Bird, 1A, 1B situation. And I'm at Indiana, and Larry Bird, of course, you know, in the front office, he's in the front row. And I about passed out because that was my welcome to the NBA moment. And I walked into that locker room. Here's the new girl. I was still living in Vegas, you know, maybe they knew my background as a Tar Heel, maybe they didn't, whatever. But they should know one thing, that I know the game, that I'm there to do a job, and that I'm there to help them tell their story. And I think that just setting the groundwork on day one, all that vulnerability, Tiff, goes out the window, because you're strong, you're confident in your convictions and your background. You know the game, you know whatever that game is, right? It doesn't have to be an actual game, but you walk in there with confidence because you've put in the work. You have the education, you have, you know, the women, the resources behind you. So have I felt vulnerable? You bet. But I think that all goes out the window because I've got strong women like you guys in my corner.
That's the truth, Molly. You hit it right on the head. That confidence. And one person that I know on this in this room that has so much confidence, she exudes it every day. I see her on social media. Dawn Ellaby is a whole supermodel. And she puts it out there. Dawn and we're about 6'5", you know, like she owns her space, and I absolutely love it. You walk in that grace. And I know so many women who probably follow you on Instagram or follow you on Facebook, you know, you've got to be lighting a fire inside of them, you know, especially when you're talking about vulnerability and being open to the world and the judgment from other people. So I know you probably had some thoughts around that vulnerability word that Molly put out there.
Thank you. I think it's so important. Like, once you don't discover who you are overnight. It takes some time, right? And we're all a collection of the people who have been in our lives, out of our lives, our experiences. We're a collection of all of that. And I think once you decide just to be yourself and just that's okay. If the good, the bad, and the ugly, that's okay. There are times when I post about crying. There's times when I post about personal defeats and personal victories. I think it's okay to be that. And the best thing that you can do if you have a short story is to share it. Because if you touch one person, then you've made a difference. Mm-hmm. And I remember giving a talk to some of my student athletes. They were all freshmen coming in this program, and all of them were kind of busy on their phones. And, you know, and even if I said, I was like, everyone get off your phone right now and listen to me. They were still on their phones and doing this. And I said something, and this one athlete looked up at me like a light bulb just went off in his head. He looked up at me, he put his phone down, and he listened. And if you could just touch that one person, that's why I think that being an athlete helped me with my confidence. It helped me be competitive. It helped me be assertive. And to not back down for things that I really want. But it also puts you out there, especially in track and field, because it's just you. It's you. It's me and my hammer. You know, I don't have a teammate to blame or anything. It's me and my hammer. And I just think that has helped me. And that's my hobby. I do love fashion. Like Jennifer, my therapy is retail therapy. And I love it. And when I get a message from a student athlete, sometimes even coaches will reach out to me and say, I have a student athlete that's 6 foot tall. She's a big girl. She's not confident. I showed her your pictures and now she feels great about herself. Mm-hmm. I'll get a note from her mom that says, my daughter is 6 feet tall in the 8th grade and she doesn't know where to shop. And now I follow you and she's just as cute as all the other girls in her class. Mm-hmm. So I just think that all of us have a way we can express our vulnerabilities and we can help others. And it just so happens that that's my hobby. I love it. And it spills over from athletics, but that's kind of how I'm expressing my vulnerability and trying to tell my story and help people. So I really appreciate that you noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, Dawn, it's a special place we get to be in this era at 6'5". You know, Jennifer's 6 feet tall. You know, Tammy, you're a tall girl too. Sorry, Molly. But you have good heels though. Yeah. You know, it's a special place we get to be. And, you know, we can't hide from everyone. And when people see us, we are the representation. You know, first people see what you look like. Are you put together? Are you well groomed? That's that first piece of judgment that Molly was talking about. You know, and when we present to the world, I want people to see me and like, okay, I see her posture. You know, I see her walking with her head up. Because I've had other tall women come up to me and say, oh, you don't walk with your shoulders hunched over. You know, you're walking, you got to, like, I've seen women, Jennifer and I've been together, and they were like, oh my God, your smile is so gorgeous. You are so tall and beautiful. That makes you feel good. You know, so being yourself. And like you said, it's okay to be yourself. Tammy, kind of what are your thoughts around that mental health topic, and what are some of your strategies?
Gosh, there's so many great things that can come from this. You know, we at USA Hockey, for instance, like our women's national team, we call we would call it a coach, your mental coach, your you know, mind coach, it's mind training, things like that. So, you know, I think mental gets a stigmatism around it when you say the word and people start to shy away from it. So we try and just confront it and say, hey, this is what it is. And it's great for you to help you unload some of this stuff. And it's important for people to compartmentalize like areas of their life, and having someone to talk to in that capacity, if it's a counselor, if it's a psychologist, if, you know, someone away from even your friendship group, you know, because I don't want to always call my friends and just say, oh my God, this is what happened. Right. You know, I want to call them and save those times for, you know, happy conversations and positivity and boost each other up and not always be, you know, dumping a suitcase of something else on them. So I think, you know, athletes need to remember that too. You know, you can go to someone else, you leave it there, and you come back and you can be okay with the other things in your life. But, you know, when you talk about the vulnerability of things and being a female and how much athletics has helped all of us, you know, I know I'm, you know, I'm probably older than a few of you on this call. And so I grew up in a area where I was the tallest female all the time. And it was like, oh, you know, here comes too tall Tammy. And I was like, whoa, you know, your head drops. You feel, you know, it's a joke, it's a nickname, but you take it personally. But then when you find those people that are, like Mr. Rogers says, the helpers per se, they're like, oh, you walk with your head up high. You hold yourself so well. How did you smile? It's beautiful. So you start picking up those things and taking them with you. But, some of that other stuff that helps us is being on a free throw line, and you're the only one there, and you have to be composed, and there's noise all around you. You're shaken, but you take a deep breath and you're like, listen, like there's two things that are going to happen here. I'm going to miss the shot. I'm going to make it. So you know what? I'm going to figure out how just to make it. And I think every time, I've walked into a situation where I've had a little bit of nerves or vulnerability, that's when it goes away, because you think, I've done all these other things. This is nothing. I don't care what you're seeing of me. This is who I am. And I'm going to project who I am. So I think all of you on this call and those watching, you have that. You can show that positive side of yourself, and don't worry about what other people are seeing or thinking, because that's another area that I was going to talk about, was just unconscious bias. And that's huge. People have an unconscious bias about so many things about people, from your hair color to your skin color to what you're wearing. And you can't be worried about that all day. People are going to have their opinions.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm going to take a little pivot a little bit. Of course, without a doubt, COVID-19 has touched and affected us all. From I think middle of March, when it felt like the world shut down, to even today, and a couple weeks ago, watching the inauguration with barely anyone there to celebrate that momentous occasion. Talk to me a little bit about how you've managed the new normal, and put yourself back in your shoes as a student athlete. Kind of take us back to, what would have been your thoughts around managing COVID-19 as a student athlete?
Gosh, you are very strong. All of you are incredibly strong, and you're going to be stronger from this, like we all are. Gosh, that's a loaded question. I don't know why. I just wanted to say that. I don't know if anybody has the answer to that, but you're going to be stronger than all of us coming out of this. For me, particularly just being a reporter, obviously everything is virtual, so I don't have the luxury of looking these athletes eye to eye and gaining that connection and seeing into their soul. That may sound cheesy, but that's legit. That gives you job stability, when you can get in there and figure out what's really going on, rather than just the X's and O's. So from a professional standpoint, that's been difficult. So I'm looking forward to actually having those interactions, not only like a coffee date with friends, but also with these athletes, and understanding what's really going on behind the score. So my message just to all of you is that this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And when it does, we're all going to be stronger from it.
Yeah, I agree with Molly. I tell people all the time, student athletes and our coaches and staff, that we will come out stronger after this pandemic. I also tell my student athletes and staff to stay positive and test negative. That's something we talk about a lot. You have to do what you can, to try to test negative. We know that you can do everything and that you can still come back with a positive result, but taking that personal responsibility as a student athlete has really cost our student athletes, because they like to be with each other, not just with each other on the same team, but our student athletes genuinely enjoy the student athletes. And so it's been hard to tell them, hey, you only can stay with the basketball team. As a basketball player, you can't go over there and mingle with football or softball and baseball. They naturally gravitate to each other. You guys have to stay in your bubble. And that's been hard. So, really talking to them about virtual, and, while we like face-to-face interaction, it's been hard because I was pregnant during this whole time. And so I didn't see any of my coaches or student athletes in person. Everything I did was through Zoom if I needed to meet with people, just because you just have to protect yourself, but then positive. I always talk about, you have to be optimistic. Your attitude is everything. That's something we learned a lot playing for Coach Hatchell, that, your attitude, it can take you far in life. And so staying positive and optimistic during these times, and then be solution oriented. We all know it's crazy right now. We see that, but come with solutions. Don't come with other problems. Let's think about solutions, because problems are out there. Let's figure out the answers to those problems. But I agree with Molly wholeheartedly that it's going to teach us, it's teaching us that we're stronger and that we can endure a lot. Who would have thought that we would be going through a pandemic as an athletic director right now? And I don't know if you all have seen how many athletic directors have resigned, retired, commissioners are like, it's hard right now. It's student athletes, it's hard. I can't imagine being a student athlete right now. But what I will say is that my time being a student athlete at Carolina prepared me to lead during this pandemic as an athletic director. And that's something that I don't think anyone can take away from being a student athlete. We have to work hard. Like Tammy said, we've done everything. We've played in front of these crazy crowds. We played at Cameron Indoor Stadium with the Dukies going crazy. And, we've done that. We've seen things that have prepared us to just endure. And so continue keeping that in your mind, that you've done the 6 a.m. dog pounds. I know that you ran the stadiums, so we've done all that and you've done all that. So that's only going to make you stronger coming out of a pandemic. And to do it in a pandemic, to have to test 3 to 4 times a week, it's going to be a breeze when you graduate and we can finally get back to some normalcy. So just keep that at the forefront as student athletes and know that it is going to be a better day and that we will be stronger coming out of this.
Oh, yeah. Totally agree with what Jennifer and both Molly said. I think when it prepares you as an athlete is you always are usually facing something you've never done before. So like you can think of like, well, I was an athlete in high school. I was never an athlete in college, but you conquered that. You know what I'm saying? You conquered your first semester in college. You conquered winning your first championship. You conquered making your first national team. And those are things you've never done before. Maybe you've never gotten on a plane before. Your first time you got on the plane was your recruiting visit. All these things you've never done before, you survived that. So you've never had to compete virtually. Train virtually, or be separated or isolated from your teammates or your coaches. But anything else you've never done before, you made it through. So I would just continue to rely on the fact that the things you've never done before, your first time at this, your first time at that, you continue to make it through and bounce back. And the COVID is the same way. Like none of us have ever experienced this before, but we can rely on the times we have pushed through first and have been pioneers. You can rely on those times to get through COVID. That's a tough time telling athletes that. I don't think they realize sometimes how strong they actually are. And so you have someone to tell you, you've been here, you've done this before. You've done this before. You've gotten through things before. You've been a first before. You've won before. You've been a champion before. So now just take all that passion and fire, and hold on a few more months, and we're going to get through this too.
Yeah, think about the student athletes now going through this. Like you're ahead of the game. You're used to being organized, prioritizing things. Like you've got those things lined up. Use them and move forward with them. You've got that behind you.
So true. I know another thing we managed this year, and Jennifer alluded to it, was the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. As I say those names, it kind of overwhelms me to even have to bring this up, but and so many others. So share with the student athletes kind of your response to issues of social injustice and systemic racism. Of course, Molly and Tammy, you guys work in a professional world and a professional realm, so you get to see it a little bit different than those of us who work on campus. Like I said, our student athletes of color and our student athletes, our white student athletes or non-student athletes of color, just have had to manage this tough situation, being kind of put in the forefront of the media. This is the first time, they're having an opportunity to really see what I call almost a civil rights movement happen, in the midst of a pandemic, when you really would want to be able to protest, when you would want to get together with others and have conversations and try to forge some type of relationship to get better, to help stop these murders and the brutality of people of color. So talk to our students and our coaches and staff about your thoughts around it and how you all are managing, and any steps that you've seen help kind of move this thing in the right direction.
Great.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Just from a reporter standpoint, I mean, Tiff, whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes. And I mentioned it's bigger than football, it's bigger than basketball. And that's what the beauty of sport has been in this past year, certainly. And it will continue to be. I think we're all changed from this. It's been certainly rewarding for me because it's not about the X's and O's, man. It's not. And there's just so much positive change going on. And Commissioner Roger Goodell, in terms of a leadership standpoint, has stepped up. Adam Silver has stepped up. And certainly, you know, with the NHL, Gary Bettman has stepped up. Everybody has stepped up. And will need to continue to step up, that this is far from over. And so just from a reporter standpoint, too much is given, much is expected. And I think that I've felt a greater responsibility, certainly in this past year. I've always taken my role incredibly serious. I don't take myself seriously, but I take my role serious. And that has upped the ante in this past year. And so I will continue to do what I can. I work for the person on the other side of the TV, and I will continue to tell these stories the best way that I know how.
Appreciate that, Mom.
I want to just add that, you know, being on the collegiate level and dealing with, you know, 18 to 23-year-olds, first acknowledging that systemic racism, it exists. You know, I think that's the first thing. I'm in a little different situation being at a historically Black college. But what I will say is that, you know, what I've had to be cognizant of is that I have a lot of student athletes, even though we are a historically Black college, who are non-Black. You know, we're probably the most diverse department in our conference when it comes to just international student athletes, non-Black student athletes. We have a great mix. We are very diverse. So making sure that our non-Black student athletes understand what their Black teammates are going through and what they're feeling. And then protecting my non-Black student athletes from the campus. Because our campus, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama, and I'm at a historically Black college where we're known for protesting and being at the heart of the civil rights and being a voice for the voiceless. And it was really hard because I saw some comments from the community, why aren't any of the non-Black students speaking up about this? And they targeted our athletic department because we are the most visible when it comes to diversity on our campus. So making sure that they felt safe, as well as acknowledging to my Black student athletes that their feelings are valid. And it was a really kind of a line you had to walk, but I wanted them to know that, hey, I don't have a problem with you all protesting because you have that right, but be safe, be smart, and understand how as student athletes, your platform. I think that what we've seen is that student athletes, they have a powerful platform and that they have to use that platform wisely. When you look at our athletic departments, while they may be doing it right, Molly, in the pro area, the professional league, it's a long way to go in the collegiate realm. When you talk about representation and representation matters, you don't see a lot of Black women as athletic directors. You don't even see them on executive staff. A lot of us are pigeonholed in the departments of compliance and academics. And, you know, it's okay to be in those roles, but how do you advance up the pipeline to really affecting change? And that's where it comes to having athletic directors who look like our student athletes. And student athletes were very vocal, especially at the Power 5 level, of calling out their departments. And it did force them to hire this new diversity, this new position that you're seeing come up in a lot of these pledges that people are taking and departments and institutions are taking right now. So we have a long way to go on the collegiate landscape. And, you know, the Black AD Alliance was something that was formed to really help push and position people of color to get them a seat at the table. And I hope that we start seeing some of these Power 5, Group of 5 institutions start really not just putting it out there for messaging, but really start being actionable about who they're going to hire and bring, because our student athletes are watching and they're calling people out. Tammy and I, we come from a development background. Dawn is marketing, external relations, and you see it. donors making these comments about Black Lives Matter. A lot of ADs are stepping up and telling, we don't need your money if that's how you feel, because they have to protect the student athletes at the end of the day.
And the thing that, there's the positivity that's coming from this is pushing, like Jen said, and it's pushing the changes that, we need. Like at USA Hockey, you guys all know, you can look at the sport and see who's playing and who's coaching and who's in leadership roles. And, it's addressing these things. And, just prior to this happening, we brought on a position that is the director of diversity and inclusion. And that was just step one. Like that's the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more work for us to do. But now we're having these conversations and we're going through training, and, and that's across the board. That's from the leadership level down to our affiliates and our coaches. And are we there yet? Oh my gosh, no, we have such a long way to go. But, we can look at the NHL and, Molly, you see Kim Davis. Kim Davis is the vice president with the NHL, and she's there and she's helping in so many ways. And she says, and you'll see it's a hashtag too. She puts on a lot of her posts and in social, and it'll say, it's a movement, not a moment. Mm-hmm. And it's so much bigger. And I'm just glad that it's like this. I'm glad that this stuff is happening. We needed this change, and we needed to continue, and it's got to be part of our lives and ingrained in us. It's not going to stop.
I think a lot of what happened this summer, working in athletics, I've always worked at a PWI, or either now I'm at a Hispanic Serving Institution. I think being in athletics, and I was actually at one point in my life, I was at the University of Wyoming, and that was not a diverse environment at all, right? A beautiful environment, but not diverse. And I think that being an athlete, being a student athlete from little kid up to college, even in professional sports, you're in a bubble, because very rarely do you have a group of people from diverse backgrounds, different backgrounds, races, nationalities, socioeconomic backgrounds, all coming together for the same cause. Everyone wants to be on the team. Everyone wants to win. Everyone, so people get along for those goals. And then I think this summer, more than ever, the bubble was burst. And people began to realize that it's not all equal. Everyone's not the same. And even though we're all on these teams together, we don't have the same mission sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think that was like, from an administrative side, that was a really hard thing to deal with. And then being an African-American female and having my certain feelings about what was going on and how it affected me personally, because that could have been my brother or my cousin, and how it's going to affect the student athletes, who now I'm at the point where at my age, I could be their parent. So you can't really, in this situation, you can't treat them as like young adults, you treat them as your children almost. Mm-hmm. So it was really hard, and I'm being vulnerable here. It was really hard to manage that, being an administrator, giving directions, helping my staff who were not persons of color understand what was going on and why we need to put things in place to help our student athletes. It was a really tough position. And I think it was just a bubble that was burst, like nationwide on all different levels, especially in athletics, because we're just so used to kind of getting along because we want to get that championship.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Really well said. Bottle that up, Tiff. Bottle that one up.
Bottle it up. We're gonna put a price tag. As philanthropists on the call, we'll put a price tag on that. I'm pretty sure Jennifer and Tammy can sell it. But ladies, my college coach Sylvia Hatchell told me a long time ago you should fill up your tool belt. And she's talked about, having quotes and affirmations and words that you may need when you need a little pick-me-up. I know I went to my tool belt, definitely when COVID hit, during the death of George Floyd. I was able to go to my tool belt and get some of the things that I had put in my spirit, books I had around the house, referring back to old things that I could pick me up a little bit. Can each of you give our current student athletes one of the tools from your tool belt? We'll start with Tammy.
Oof. That's it's hard to narrow it down because, I think I have probably 3 or 4 for each situation I've ever been in, because you do a lot of self-talk. You talk to yourself more than anyone else, right? So, I think right now, one of them that's, really applicable is simple, but, when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and just hang on, because You're gonna get through
it. Just say wee.
Try and relax. Have some fun.
Swing.
Awesome. Jennifer, what do you got?
Wow. So I have a lot of Coach Hatchell isms,
Isms.
but I'm gonna save those because I use them a lot. The 6 P's is one of my favorite, but I'm gonna go with own your dopeness. That's something that I feel like as women we have to do more of. We can't and should not apologize for being fabulous. We shouldn't shrink ourselves to make other people feel okay. When I walk in a room with the confidence. Men may think it's an arrogance, but if I was a male, you would say, oh, they're really confident. And I don't want, that's something I didn't always possess. I think working in television, so I will salute working at Fox, it gave me that confidence because I would see men and I would see them argue and cuss each other out when we're taping or going through a production and go have a beer afterwards and let it go. And as that's something that's helped me. We can't take things personal. You have a job to do. You're qualified. That's one thing. Your content, but don't let anyone ever make you feel like you're not the phenomenal queen, boss woman you are, because you have to own your dopeness in every facet of your life because people will try to tear you down.
Yes, indeed. Molly.
I love that. I'm just enjoying listening to these stories because these are my tools. You know what I'm saying? It's Jennifer, listening to you there. And that brings, we're all fighting something, right? We all have battles nobody knows about. And we put those darn horse blinders on and we power through it. But don't water yourself down ever. Do not water down who you are. Remember who you are. Remember where you are. It's important for me in my delivery to always understand the audience and who am I, I work for the person on the other side of the TV. What do they want to know? Do they really want to know about, the X's and O's, or do they really want to know what's going on in the community and how, the Las Vegas Raiders are making Southern Nevada a better place to live? How are they doing that? Because that's what matters. That's the real stuff. Who cares about, the silly stuff? So I think, and I just got a text here from a good friend and said, how are you holding up? And that's such a loaded question, right? Like, how do you answer that? And I'm thinking to myself and I'm listening to the tools. So I think just understanding that you got this. And and I was driving my daughter to school this morning. I'm not going to cry, Tiff. I'm not going to cry. But I said, stay focused, because she was doing something and we were talking about homework. And I said, Belle, stay focused. And then she was quiet. And I said, are you okay? I switched gears. I said, are you okay? She said, Mom, I'm just focused. And I was like, all right. Like, I'm focused, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a businessman, So like, it just remember who you are and remember where you are and stay true to yourself, be real, be authentic, and stay professional. And never never sell your soul. You know what I'm saying? It's never more important to do that. So stay true to yourself. You got this. We got a bunch of tools, and I am not going to cry because that's not why we're here.
You can cry.
On to the next one.
You can cry. If any day you can cry, it's today.
Good women in my corner. You know what I'm saying?
I got you, Molly. I got some tissues for you. And some strong shoulders, too.
Yeah.
I think it was a time in my life I was going through. I had been passed over for a promotion a number of times, and I just was so frustrated. And I went to a professional development conference, and they were giving out these cards. And mine had a quote on it that said, "Be so good they can't ignore you." And it just meant so much to me that there's always going to be someone who could maybe give you a promotion, or who's in charge of a promotion. They could not like you. Maybe they have someone else in mind. Or maybe there's a president that you want to be that AD, but they have someone else in mind. But I promise you this, every time I have tried my best and done my best, it was not ignored. It did not go ignored. It might not happen in the moment that I wanted it to happen, but opportunities continue to present themselves. Even now during COVID, if I can put my best foot forward, if I can just be as good as Dawn can be, I don't have to be as good as Tammy or Molly or Jennifer or Tiffany, but if I can be as good as Dawn can be and be so good, they will not ignore me. So I would just tell the young women who are watching this, all young athletes that are watching this, be so good they can't ignore you.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome, Dawn. Well, you know, like I said earlier, our theme is unapologetically a woman. And I don't know, I just light up when I say it because I'm just so proud to be a woman. So finish this statement for me, ladies. And Molly, I'll start with you.
Hold up, we want to know the answer. You got to give us the answer.
No, mine is literally it comes from my tool belt tool comes from the theme that I've thought about, you know, for this entire summit. I'm unapologetically Tiffany, and that's enough.
That's more than enough.
How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that?
That's enough.
Yeah.
I am unapologetically Tiffany, and that's enough. And it's like when I talk about the word no, no is a complete sentence. If someone asks you a question and you can't answer that, or it's something that you can't, you know, supply for them, no. And you don't have to continue to give an explanation or an excuse for it. No is a complete sentence. I'm unapologetically Tiffany, and that's enough.
Amen.
Same thing when you say it.
Jeremy Sullivan, our director, roll us out, because that's the way to roll this bad boy out if I ever heard a close.
No.
Or just the beginning. It's not ending, it's just beginning.
No, so you guys have to finish this statement. So now I'm gonna start with you, Molly. I am unapologetically
truthful.
Ooh, okay. Here we go. Tammy, I am unapologetically
aware.
Ooh, I like that.
Nice. Dawn, I am unapologetically
great. Great.
Jennifer.
And I think that comes from, like, sometimes you can be too humble. When someone says, you know, sometimes your reputation precedes you and you kind of shrink from that, but no more. No more.
Yeah. Jennifer, I am unapologetically.
And because we're best friends, I had me. You know, I said me, a wife, mom, boss, queen.
That's it. And that's enough.
That's enough.
Like Tammy said, I am unapologetically aware, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I am unapologetically truthful, and that's enough. I am unapologetically great, and that's enough. Okay. Ladies, we could talk all day. You know, just the energy that you all have given me and given our viewers today has been, cup runneth over. We have student athletes and coaches and administrators who have literally gone through so much in the past 11 months. And this leadership summit is literally just an opportunity to refill their cup. You know, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know some of our student athletes, some of our coaches, and some of our administrators are getting a little low. And I know listening to you all today, that cup runneth over. And I thank you so much again for your time. I thank you for your sacrifice. I appreciate you leaning into the conversation. Like I said, transparency means so much to me, and it means so much to our student athletes that they get an honest, raw answer to questions that they have to face every day, transitioning from college to the working world. You know, some of us are not going to go to grad school right offhand. What happens when I want to just step out on faith and do something a little different? You know, we have freshman student athletes that literally started off college in, you know, in a pandemic, you know, having to be in a room, whether it was alone or having to be tested every day. You know, coaches, I'm a former coach. You know, when you can't control things, you know, it makes you a little anxious. And I appreciate you all really leaning into the conversation. I know that you have touched so many people today. And I say thank you on behalf of them. I appreciate you all. Have a great day. If you ever need anything, and we have some beautiful beaches out here at UNC Wilmington. So if you have vacation time, we'd love to have you guys on campus post-pandemic. Thank you all again.
Thanks, Tiff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I told you guys that was going to be an awesome panel. Thanks so much again to Tammy, Molly, Jennifer, and Dawn. We simply appreciate you all. We can't say enough about the way you were so transparent with our student athletes. We can't help but to get better listening to you all. Here we go. We're going to keep this party rolling. We have Dominique Travers, a member of our softball team, to introduce you to LaShawn G, who is going to simply give you the recipe for a disciplined woman. Take it away, Dominique.
Good afternoon. My name is Dominique Travers, and I'm a graduate student on the softball team. Did you know, in a study conducted by Korn Ferry, that women make up only 6% of the Fortune 500 CEOs, and 54% of them played sports on the university level? LaShawn G teaches young women and female student athletes how to activate discipline using mindset strategies so they will be able to navigate athletics, academics, and life after sports without overwhelm. As an author and mindset coach, LaShawn has leveraged discipline and authenticity in order to achieve major athletic accomplishments over the years, and using her stellar interviewing skills to earn career experience along her career path. By implementing discipline, surrender, trust, faith, and focus, she has earned All-American honors, Hall of Fame honors, and been successfully employed at the secondary and university level as a teacher, athletic director, and track coach. She's also been able to birth and mature her speaking and coaching business. She enjoys teaching her strategies on how to ditch procrastination and frustration and implement discipline to achieve the successes that her clients desire for their lives. She's helped hundreds of teens, young adults, and women lose weight, gain confidence, win championships, break records, secure positions, and even take the leap into entrepreneurship. In her spare time, she is a USATF certified track and field official and also a commentator and announcer for many track and field meets. She loves to travel near and far and can be caught canvassing areas for amazing restaurants to eat or at home cooking and dancing it out to her favorite playlists.
Thank you so much, Ms. Travers, for introducing me. Thank you to UNC Wilmington for inviting me to the online summit for Girls and Women in Sports Day. I'm so appreciative. I wanted to do this speech on what I deemed as the soul of a disciplined woman. We are in a time now where student athletes are up and down and emotions are high, and we really are working day to day. But I want to get back to sports and what it truly means to women and what role women can partake in this to become disciplined and to keep that soul of a disciplined woman. So there's a recipe that I created, right? And it's called Carpe Diem. You seize your day. A woman, the soul of a disciplined woman, seizes her day. Sports has a way of bringing out the determination, the dedication, and the drive that one needs in order to perform at an optimal standard. But let me tell you deeply what it looks like in real time. In my eyes, there's no more disciplined species than a woman who is about her business and disciplines her day. Unapologetically, mind you. If you're still trying to figure out what this all means, let me share a recipe with you that you can experiment with and perfect to your blend. Now, my grandmother and my mother did not use measurements, so please add as much or as little of each of these ingredients as you need in order to let your spirit guide you to your perfect standards of the soul of a disciplined woman. First, you have decision-making capabilities that are out of this world. You know what you want and you know how you want it. You're so very clear about the expectations that you have for yourself that no one can shake you. You will not waver in your diligence and what it takes to make what matters to you happen. Some may even say you're selfish, but if you can't take care of yourself well, mind you, how can you possibly take care of others well? When it comes to disciplining your day, when it comes to setting goals that matter to you in the classroom, on the field, and when you cross that stage after graduation, You are determined and you have decided and committed that there's nothing that's going to stop you, that there's nothing that is going to distract you from making things happen. That's power. Second, the soul of a disciplined woman knows how to dream big, and she knows how to visualize it. If you're able to ideate your goals, you see yourself in your winning season each and every day. What does it look like to have your goals actually come to life? What does it feel like? Who's there? Who's around you? The soul of a disciplined woman knows that because she keeps her circle tight, she keeps her energy high, and she keeps those vibrations even higher. Who do you want to share those goals with? Again, your special circle, the people who are going to cheer you on from day to day, and the ones who are going to celebrate you, even if it means that they might not be celebrating themselves for a moment. Again, this is unapologetically being a woman, unapologetically having the soul of a disciplined woman. Being able to ideate your goals is so very important. You have to be able to visualize. You have to be able to see yourself winning. Even though times may be bleak in this moment, even though you may be pivoting and doing things differently, you've already seen yourself winning. So why not keep dreaming big? And if you can't dream big for yourself, then listen, no one else will. Like I say in my book, when you dream, you better dream big. Third, you know how to execute. You are an expert in your field. You know exactly what it takes to plan. You know exactly what it takes to progress. I have a saying that says, if you're not planning, you're procrastinating. If you're procrastinating, you're not progressing. Plan so you can progress. The soul of a disciplined woman knows how to strategize her day, and she takes action daily. Now, if by chance something is going on in your life that, may be wreaking havoc, you know how to pivot, but you never go more than one day. Disciplining each day is required to be able to execute well. From the classroom to the playing field to your dream career, the soul of a disciplined woman knows that this is not a sprint. It's a marathon, and that marathon comes with a lot of hurdles. She stays ready so she doesn't have to get ready. When you're executing well, you're not getting overwhelmed by all the details, and you're not allowing distractions to take over your days, right? You're prioritizing. You're putting things in order. You're doing things by the number so that when it's time to cross that line, when it's time to start that business, when it's time to write that book, when it is time to showcase who you actually are, you're already there. You already have everything you need. Finally, because we're women, we are human beings, right? We get to be. We're not human doings. We don't go about life just meandering and doing things haphazardly. We are human beings, so we get to be our greatest selves, which means we get to discipline our day by maintaining our lives well. We get to take care and take self-care so that we can A, be of service to others, B, live in our God-given purpose, walk that out, and make impact across the world. Now, when you're making impact across the world, your world could be as big or as small as you'd like it, but you are touching at least one person a day. You are making a difference in someone else's life. I know this time may not seem like you're making a difference, but best believe all the virtual classes that you've taken, all the Zooms that you've signed on to, they all matter. Your voice matters. Make sure you're still speaking up. This all is a part of maintaining your life well. You know how to rejuvenate. You know how to fill up your tank so that you can keep going. And when you can keep going, every single day you wake up, that is another day for you to be great. Now, in this recipe that I've given you, it's not cookie cutter, right? Because we're all individual. We all are uniquely made. We're wonderfully made. And we were put on this earth for very specific reasons. So this recipe, while I gave you strategies and ingredients to use in it, again, use them to your specific liking. Use it so that you can be your absolute best self. This isn't something that you utilize to become overwhelmed. This isn't something that you utilize to you see every day and you gain this anxiety. It's not about that. We have enough anxiety in our lives around us. We have to keep the center of our lives maintained, balanced. And yes, we do hear we need to have balanced lives. But moreover than that, we need to have well-managed lives, right? You want a well-managed life. And the soul of a disciplined woman is one who is ready to go at a moment's notice without overwhelm. Why? Because she has decided to commit to the goals that matter to her. She has decided that she's ideating her goals. She's seeing herself in her winning season every single day. She's executing well. She is making sure that she is planning, so she's not procrastinating, and she is progressing. And she's maintaining her life well by utilizing self-care in its highest regard so that she can rejuvenate herself, so that she can rebuild if she needs to, so that she can build others up. And that is the soul of a disciplined woman. Ladies, I want you to think so highly of yourselves that others are looking up at you and you are holding your hands out to pick them up. If you have the soul of a disciplined woman, the soul of a disciplined woman is one who is confident in herself, confident in her voice, confident in her abilities on the field and off the field, in the classroom and out of the classroom, among supervisors, among athletic directors, among their peers. If you are living unapologetically, you are living disciplined. And when you can discipline your day, when you can seize your day, you will be living your most well-lived life. I wish you an amazing Girls and Women's in Sports Day. I hope that you take this recipe. I hope that you put it in your back pocket because you never know when you're going to need it. I wish you well. And as I always say, I hope you start your day with gratefulness. I hope that you end your day with gratefulness, and I hope that you work each and every one of your days with greatness. Why? Because you're great and you deserve the absolute best. Have an amazing day, ladies, and I will see you again.
LaShawn, you're simply amazing, and I knew you would be a great fit for this leadership summit. Our women have the tools they need to be a disciplined woman thanks to you. We appreciate you and we welcome you here on campus anytime. I told you all we were calling in some pretty heavy hitters today, and we have Patty Phillips, CEO of Women Leaders in College Sport. But I also pulled out my secret weapon, J.M. Lewandowski, who will introduce Patty Phillips. J.M. is a member of our beach volleyball program, but more importantly, she is our SAC president. You got him, J.M.
Good afternoon. My name is Joan Marie Lewandowski, and I'm a senior on the beach volleyball team. I'm also the UNCW Student Athlete Advisory Committee president. We are super excited to have Miss Patty Phillips, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Women Leaders in College Sports, with us today. Patty is a sports executive, speaker, and an industry leader on women's career advancement. She has worked in the sports industry in various capacities for over 30 years, first as a collegiate volleyball and basketball coach, then at the NCAA, the Kansas City Sports Commission leading WIN for KC, and for the last 10 years at Women Leaders in College Sports. She's dedicated her career to coaching, mentoring, and inspiring women at all levels in all industries. As the CEO of Women Leaders in College Sports, the nation's premier organization that develops, connects, and advances women working in collegiate athletics, she uses keen insights that she's gathered from her relationships with searching firms, hiring committees, and university presidents to coach women and help them grow in their careers. Under Phillips's direction, the association puts on best-in-class leadership events and programs that serve as a catalyst for career growth and advancement for the women involved. In her time as CEO, the association has seen triple-digit growth in membership, has grown the national convention attendance by 250%, and expanded its membership to include men and women from professional sports leagues and corporations. Phillips also created and leads the Women's Leadership Performance Institute, a leadership development program for all business industries designed through the lens of sports. The Performance Institute ignites and cultivates potential in individuals, leaders, and teams through customized coaching and training in order to achieve peak performance. Because Women Leaders has established itself as the premier leadership organization in the industry, Patty is a sought-after speaker by corporations all over the country on topics such as leadership, teamwork, and culture.
JM, thanks so much for that awesome introduction. I'm super excited to have Miss Patty Phillips. Patty, we cannot thank you enough for your time and your sacrifice today and every day. Leading the women leaders in college sport, I know is no easy task, but you do it with such style and grace, and I'm so grateful to have you in my tribe. I'm glad to share you with our student athletes today. So let's jump right into this thing. I know we're super excited to really jump in and just have some really organic conversation around leadership. You're no stranger to that. So let's talk a little bit about, how you've transitioned into a leadership space where you're leading thousands of women on top of just who you have within your office and your circle. But so many women look up to you in this space. What do you think about being a woman and, being a woman leader makes a great leader?
Yeah, Tiffany, first of all, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this outstanding program. And honestly, you're one of my favorite people. To all your student athletes and staff, how lucky are you to get to work with this amazing woman? She's been an inspiration to so many through her entire career. So it's my true honor to be with you today. I wish we were in person, but that's right. But you know what? Champions adjust, we like to say. And I know you've been doing that, Tiffany, and teaching those lessons, which is so important. So back to your first question, which I think is, why, what makes women great leaders? And there's an objective and subjective kind of tons of research about women as leaders. And I think it's important to lend or to have that conversation first. The research shows that women they have high EQs. They are more communicative. They are more empathetic. They're collaborative in decision-making processes. They are more conscious and sometimes, taking in all information from all sides. They believe more because they've had to in role modeling. So there's a mentoring piece that is more obvious at times from women leaders. And again, this research, by the way, comes from corporate America. We don't yet have this kind of statistical research in our industry, but what we know are the similarities across all industries. And we also know the research shows that organizations and companies with women as leaders do extraordinarily well. So research shows that sometimes qualities that are more associated with women or females are really conducive in leadership. So that's the objective side of it. I mean, subjectively, I think the other piece of that we know is that women bring information about a whole other half of our population that is often not represented. So this representation piece is important. Women have had to kind of lean into EQ to understand how to get to these spaces where they haven't been included before. How to build relationships in a much more difficult manner. So they have all that kind of information from the journey into leadership that when they are self-aware with the high EQ in those leadership roles, it's really, really, really beneficial. So obviously there's a lot of research that shows why women are great leaders. And with this organization, we believe that we need more women in all leadership roles, not only because we're representative of populations, but for all those things that we just said. So it's a great question. We need more, and change is happening. Change is happening.
Without a doubt, change has definitely happened. Let's talk about a little bit, As a powerful and influential woman, kind of talk to us a little bit about what is your purpose, and what advice would you give our student athletes about finding their purpose, which we all know is a very hard thing sometimes to do, but talk to them a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, you know, my purpose is helping women reach their potential through empowering and coaching them. And back in the day, Tiffany, I think I just mostly used the word empowering. I'm a big believer in potential and then how we get there, this motivation piece. More recently, I've added the word coaching. I think that's a really important part because potential doesn't happen just because we want it to. And as you know, this is what our institutes and all of our training is about. There's a gap between where we are and where we can go. Right. And that takes work. So finding your purpose, you know, I think comes over time. When you ask about my journey, you know, so finding your purpose a lot of times is not only what, you know, you're drawn to, what inspires you, but actually where you think you can make an impact. True. Because when I was a student athlete, I was drawn to the, you know, the team, the coaching. I played basketball. I loved, and I actually became a coach. I was a college coach for 8 years before moving in to the nonprofit world. And so this notion of, even as an athlete, you know, my freshman year, I'm at a certain place, but I can get better each year, helping people get better. So for me, you know, coaching and teaching, I was always drawn to that arena, but yet there's different ways to do that. Started out as coaching, then, you know, worked in nonprofit, in the nonprofit arena around, you know, the benefits of sports for empowering girls and women. And then now at Women Leaders in College Sports. So I think, you know, finding your passion takes time. Sometimes it's what you're drawn to, but ultimately it's not just, purpose, because I think purpose is the next layer up from passion. Passion is like what fires you up, and that's an important piece of it. But purpose is, how do you want to make an impact and change the world? And a lot of times, sometimes that's through heartbreak, my friend. Like, what have you seen? I remember being a young female coach with no staff members. I wasn't full-time, and I saw the inequities there. So sometimes it's heartbreak. It's through travesties in our life, through difficulties. And you see, I want to get in there and make a difference, but it also has to light you up. You know, I think if your purpose is a grind all the time, you aren't able to truly have the impact you were meant to have. So for me, it's the combination of that passion, what you're drawn to, and also where you can make an impact. I think both of those are really important. So for student athletes, they need to look at their lives. Like, what is it that they're drawn to? What organizations? You know, what causes? There's been so many recently, you know, in our country. I know they're on campuses, and every individual has their journey. So just kind of reflecting on what it is that piques your passion, but that also enables you to make an impact is important.
Yeah, it's interesting you talked about the purpose and grinding, because we all know what that grind really looks like. Talk to me a little bit about one thing in your life that's a non-negotiable, and how do you set boundaries around yourself? Because we all understand the purpose. We understand the passion. When you get fired up about certain things, you just go. But let's talk about the non-negotiables and setting some boundaries.
That is an interesting question. You know, for me, I would say it is around prioritizing my health and maintaining energy. And that might be an interesting answer, but here's the deal, you know, and you know this from our work in our Fit to Lead initiative. And the bottom line is, if you can't show up as a leader every day as your best self, you can't have an impact. You can't lead. You can't make good decisions. You can't coach people. You get caught up in your own drama. So, but it looks different. When we say, what are my non-negotiables? It looks different. Maybe day to day, week to week, month to month, in that category of prioritizing health. You know, if there's times where I'm working 12 hours a day, the prioritization might be sleep as opposed to being able to work out every day. You know, definitely I'm able to prioritize the food. I'm a big believer about what we eat and what we intake impacts our performance. That's easier when I'm at home than when I travel. So when I say that priority is broad-based, I think that's the one that for me impacts everything. I mean, I want to say integrity, loyalty, and all those are non-negotiables for me, but those can't happen if I am not showing up in the best version of myself every day. And I think this is an area, and you've heard me talk about this, that I think is overlooked. And guess what? Student athletes get it. They're thinking about, what you eat the day before a game or before practice, or how we recover. And we don't think about it as leaders. And really, we're corporate athletes as leaders. So I have really been drawn to that concept over my lifetime, and seen times in my life where I've not been able to prioritize it. And I actually am not having the impact. I'm not really able to increase or work towards my purpose in life. So for me, that's the foundational. Everything comes from how can I show up every day?
Yeah, that's so awesome, Patty. And I appreciate you being very transparent about that, because people see, one side of the go, go, go Patty, but what happens when Patty does not take care of herself?
Yeah. Well, Tiffany, I'll tell you one thing too. I mean, for me, I actually had an autoimmune disorder for a long time in my 30s, and I was on steroids and autoimmunosuppressants and all this stuff. And so I actually know what it felt like to not feel good and to not be able to perform at my best. I hope for others, you don't have to go through that. I mean, I think when people have illnesses or things that come up, it's the awareness of, wow, how much more I can get done when I'm feeling good. And really when my body in all ways is functioning, which is a blessing and a gift. And I am thankful for that every day. So I hope that everyone could start understanding that without having to feel the other side of that. We need to know what that is for each of us, our health and energy. And yes, people talk about my energy, and as you know, I work at it, you do have to take steps to make sure I can show up with my full energy that's part of me every single day. Sleep and what I eat, positive thoughts, who I surround myself with, all that's part of this maintaining health and energy for me.
Yeah, and it's not just one piece, it's all of those pieces coming together. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Patty, I want to pivot a little bit. And Carla Harris, Vice Chairwoman and Managing Partner at Morgan Stanley, is absolutely one of my favorite people. Carla has 10 pearls of wisdom, but it would be great to hear your thoughts on one of her pearls that I absolutely love. Carla says, own your power. No matter where you are, no matter where you're standing right now, know you have power. No matter how you might be feeling, the way someone made you feel, know you have power. And the way to grow power, she added, is to give it away, saying that leadership is a journey from execution to empowerment. And you talked about that a little bit early. Mm-hmm. Can you please share a few points about owning your power as a woman who leads?
Yeah, well, first of all, our love for Carla Harris. She is the best of the best. And, we've had her speak a couple times now at our events because she is phenomenal. I've read all of her books. We use her books in our training programs. This question of owning your power, and I say it all the time. And so I have to be thoughtful about, what does that mean, actually? For me, owning our power means understanding how we show up and impact in the world. And it's different for everybody. Owning that, first of all, we all have an energy, a power, that we're all here for a reason, whatever that is. And I do believe that we all have a purpose. And so, first of all, realizing that we all have an innate power to have an impact, to impact others, to do good in the world. So that we have a role. So part of it is a confidence thing. For me, owning your power initially is about confidence. Like you are a wonderful, amazing, beautiful human, and we are all meant to be here for whatever reason that is. But then owning that power means, understanding that there's a responsibility that comes with that.
Yes, indeed.
To me, that responsibility is for student athletes on a team. You got to show up every day for your teammates, for your coaches, for the mission. Teams don't work if players decide not to show up and be their best, right? For teammates that are working now. So staffs, owning your power means, what is your role? Take responsibility for your role and be your best in that role every single day. It's a commitment to understanding how you impact your team, your surroundings, and the world, and committing to being in that space every single day. And when you do that, then it shines light on others. And that's where that impact happens that Carla talks about, that empowerment of others. But, for me, owning your power is a confidence and it's an individual thing, but it also has the other side of it is a responsibility. It's a responsibility to others. We are not in a solo universe. We are in a people world. We're in a world of collaboration and team. Even entrepreneurs have teams. Like no one works alone or functions alone. So owning your power and understanding your impact on others for good and bad, and making sure that you're focusing on the good all the time, that how you can make a difference. And if you can make a difference, I believe we have a responsibility to make a difference. We have a responsibility to speak up, to do the work, to be a servant leader, to be a great teammate. All those things to me are encapsulated in owning your power.
Yeah, in ownership, that level of accountability is tremendous.
Yeah,
you gotta walk in it and be accountable for yourself and others if you're leading teams every day. And I know that's definitely tough work, but when you're given that, green light to go, you've got to be willing to go. In the work you're doing, the life-changing work you're doing with women leaders in college sport, oh my gosh, you guys have literally changed so many lives in our business of athletic administration. It's unbelievable. You guys work in leadership development, networking, and of course, advocacy for women in intercollegiate sports. What's your message to our women today, our young student athletes today? What is your message to them?
Well, Tiffany, first of all, when in your comments about women leaders in college sports, you kept saying you guys and you, and actually it's we. Because it really is. What makes this organization work is the network engagement, every woman owning their power and being involved and having an impact collectively. The power is in the collective of all the women. And you're a huge part of that. So you need to know that. But my advice to young women and really young people all over is that your potential is far greater than what you could ever imagine. Potential is my word. I'm a huge believer in potential. I'm fascinated by the fact that it is unknowable. It's an unknowable factor of ourselves. And I think this started in sports. We get that. So our potential of where we can be as a senior on a team is different than where we were as a freshman. It takes work. It takes goals. And what happens is when you set a goal, if you're a runner and you set a goal that you want to run the mile at a certain time and you hit the goal, then what happens? Your potential goes up. Right. It's the same thing for administrators. When we set goals on what we can do and we reach them, the potential goes up. For our organization, when we set goals of what we can do for women at a particular event and we hit them, the potential for the next event goes up. So potential is truly unknowable, and I'm fascinated by that. I want all the young women to know that your potential is unknowable, yet anything is possible. And I don't want to say but I want to add an and. It takes work, though. And I think this is the other thing. I think we're all getting better about empowering young people, particularly women. And women know now that opportunities are available to us. We have our first Madam Vice President, with so many firsts encompassed with her appointment and many other stories in that way. So anything is possible and it takes work. And so I think what I want young people to know is anything's possible, but you can't just sit back and write down goals. That's the first step. What's different now is that we used to not think it was possible for women. Right. It is, but it takes work. And so that's an intentionality around understanding that we control our own destiny through effort. And Tiffany, this is what we talk about at our institute. We don't just say, I want to be a leader. What does it take to become a leader?
Correct.
You can't just say, I want to be the captain of the team. What does it take to be the captain of the team? And when you put in effort and intention around your personal growth, anything is truly attainable. And so your potential is unknowable. So that combination will be my message. Your potential is far greater than what you can know, and it takes effort to get there. And I'll tell you one thing that helps particularly young women get there is to be intentional about who they surround themselves with.
Yes,
because sometimes other people see the potential in us before we do. So having those great coaches, mentors, around us saying, hey, I see something in you. And Tiffany, you've heard me say it to you. I see in you that you are a leader. I see what your potential can be. Sometimes, and I had to have someone say that to me when I was, running a department of the Kansas City Sports Commission, that I could lead. And it's not that I didn't think I was confident or I didn't want to. I was too busy in the doing to think about that. So it's really important to surround yourself with people that will see your potential and then help you grow, hold you accountable, to get there. So the intentionality around reaching your potential is a really important part of that.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you so much, Patty. Thank you for literally, I remember that day. You told me that, and I really appreciate that. Well, our theme for today is unapologetically a woman. And that's what we're celebrating today, girls and women in sport. Patty, I've got to ask, finish this statement. I am unapologetically
resilient, ambitious, savvy, gritty, and honestly, ultimately optimistic. I wish I could come up with one word, but I think all those things, and honestly, the combo of them, that's right, sister. It means that, you're okay, or I'm okay with being all of those different things. But I love that you're empowering the young women to be unapologetically the best version of themselves, the phenomenal women they are and can be. And there is no better role model for that than you, my friend. Really honored. I love that you brought the flag out.
Oh yeah, we gotta have the flag around.
Heck yeah.
No, that is so awesome. Oh, resilient is absolutely amazing, because you have to be every day in order to do the purpose work, in order to have passion every day, in order to lead women and lead women and men every day. You definitely have to be resilient. Patty, I cannot thank you enough for continuing to pour into the women that you serve, through the organization and in your personal life. This isn't something you do from 9 to 5. This is something you do in, just conversations, whether in a hallway or just picking up the telephone. You share and you pour into so many. When we use the term that we stand on the shoulder of giants, you are one of those giants, and I so appreciate you, and I thank you on behalf of course, our chancellor, my director of athletics, Jimmy Bass, our student athlete coaches and staff. Thank you so much for your time. If there's anything that we can do to move the needle forward, to kick the glass, you let us know. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tiffany. It was my honor. So good to see you.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Patty. Oh, it was so awesome to sit down with you and talk about leadership. You are second to none and first class when it comes to leadership. I can't get out here without thanking a few people. I want to first say thank you to our Director of Athletics, Jimmy Bass, who is a true ally for girls and women in sport. Molly Neese, you have simply been amazing. When I brought my idea to you, you literally helped me set it afire, and here's the finished product. We made it. Thank you so much. And Jeremy Sullivan, our video coordinator, you have bared with me. We have helped our student athletes grow professionally in the world of public speaking, and I can't thank you enough. You are an amazing addition to our staff, and you serve as an amazing resource that produces some of the most awesome content about our student athletes. Thank you so much, and thank you. Our 2021 National Girls and Women in Sports Day Leadership Summit has been absolutely amazing. From our awesome panel, I want to thank again Jennifer, Dawn, Tammy, and Molly. You guys got us kicked off in a great and incredible way. And LaShawn, let me tell you, you are impeccable. We appreciate all of the skills, all of the tools that you've equipped our student athletes and our coaches and administrators with today, and we cannot thank you enough. And Patty, you knocked the cover off the ball, and you are simply amazing. Thanks so much for your time today. We can't let you get out of here without a video salute to our girls and women in sport. We put together a video montage that will show you some of our coaches as administrators, some of our administrators as players, and some of you all. Take it away. Thank you again.